Hi there, I'm Jo Baldwin-Trott and I am the host of the Amijo Show. Amijo because these are friends of mine and they are coming on my show. Really simple. They happen to be the very top of their tree in expertise in a field. So I've been running this show for however many days. I'm actually decided not to count anymore because it just does no point, I think, because we're going to be here hashtag a while. So I'm just doing these interviews, and actually during this week, and as a result of one interview with Susan Stillman, who's there. Hi, Susan. There's been a lot of conversation about schooling, teachers, parents, kids at home, and so much. So Susan and I did a great episode about how you can get your kids thinking differently, tech-free, with some really good activities. We've also done a video about your live Cluedo game, which is just epic, and so all over that. It's fantastic. But today, this session is actually aimed for teachers who are really struggling right now. And I've heard various stories about that. So I'm going to introduce my first guest, my first other guest, sorry, is Laura Moore. Hi, Laura.
Hello, Jo. Hi, lovely to see you.
You too. Thanks for coming on. So you are a teacher at the moment in a West London school for boys, and then you're going to be going to be a teacher at a West London school for girls.
Yeah.
But your area is drama, isn't it?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. So, sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, Susan and I know each other well because we've worked together professionally, and obviously became good friends. But yeah, we've both worked in the field for a significant amount of time.
Yeah. So between us, so I was a teacher for I'm still a teacher now, but I kind of lecture rather than teach. I was a teacher for 9 years, I think, primary mostly, but all ages. Susan, you've been a teacher for how long?
21 years, yeah.
I think I'm 16 now. I think I'm 16. Yeah, 16. I'm going to say 16/17. So that's quite a lot. That's quite a few years between us all.
That's 46, I think. 46, something like that. It's not bad, is it really? And pretty also, Laura, you, like me, are a parent too. So you've got three little ones, one little one, one middle one, and then one big one.
I've got three children. Well, I've got twins. So I've got two. My twins are in year 3. You're a twin. Amazing. Are you boy-girl twins?
I've got twins.
You've got twins. Oh, lovely. So I've got boy-girl twins who are in year 3, and then I have a very exciting surprise addition who is in year 1 and is a girl.
Oh, I love it! I love it. So yeah, no, my twins are 13 now, so year 8, and just getting on with their thing. They're really
that's amazing,
like they do at that age. But yeah, fantastic. I didn't realise that. So yeah, so you've got both angles really, haven't you? You've got the teacher. And that you're trying to juggle everything you are with on your professional head, and then you've got obviously the parent time management situation.
And I mean, obviously this is all very uncharted territory. So this is the end of the second week for all of us in terms of when schools closed, both obviously from a professional level and also as a parent. So I mean, I think certainly from my position, I've been very much kind of feeling my way over the first week and into this week. I do feel a little bit more settled now, and I think the children have been fine, I have to say. I think they're very much enjoying being at this stage, being at home with both parents. That's been quite a big novelty. I'm often at work and I work late because of rehearsals and commitments to school, and so having mummy around a lot has, I think, gone down very well. In terms of the kind of the balance and the kind of juggle of trying to make things work with obviously giving them an educational experience, because obviously it's been term time for them, and also trying to, for certainly last week, I broke up at the end of last week, but as we were talking before we went on air, actually it doesn't feel like we're in a holiday situation anyway. So I've been working kind of consistently last week and this week, as well as obviously trying to make sure the children have got things to do. And sometimes I've come out of the day feeling like, yeah, that was all right, we did quite well. And I've equally had days, quite a few days actually, where I've just thought, well, I call myself a teacher. I can certainly teach drama, but I don't know how good I am at maths. And well, it's not very good. You know, I mean, I think the thing is not to beat yourself up too much, isn't it? We've all got to kind of be kind to ourselves in a situation.
Absolutely, and I think it's very easy to set ourselves high expectations, and especially if you are a teacher, you know, I've always been like that at school. It's oh well, actually, I could do X, Y, Z with them, and you know, I've got these skills. It's really but so much harder with your own kids, and B, I think it's almost like you know, it's you have to be really kind to yourself right now. I was on my mastermind call this morning with another mum of twins. It's all goes straight. And she was saying, oh well, you know, I've been trying to do that and trying to do that. Like, Julian, just slow down and just actually allow yourself to just do what you can right now. But I'm going to bring it right because her children are one of the best schools in West London, in the area I live. And my children went to that same school. But they have absolutely just categorically just said, well, we'll see what happens, and after Easter we'll come up with something.
Yes, I mean, this has been very interesting, and certainly kind of from a parental standpoint, I have been having a lot of chats with people, both who are parents in my children's school and also other parents who send their children to different schools. And there is a very wide field of how schools are dealing. I mean, this is obviously in primary, but with the issue of what work is being given and what guidance is being given for parents. And you know, I won't go into fine detail about that, but there are some schools who are doing detailed daily plans, phone calls home to kids, from teachers, a lot of contact, you know, Google Classroom, etc., live lessons, and then equally far less so. And I think it is obviously every school is trying to work it out, and some perhaps have been are naturally more tech savvy than others. And obviously there's obviously potentially going to be a difference between some state schools within the kind of state sector, and equally the private sector as well. And then we obviously have, as teachers, what we are experiencing in terms of what the expectation has been for us in that first week of kind of just, you know, creating remote content, and again, different schools doing it in different ways. A lot of feedback from parents understandably getting very anxious about it. We see that obviously as teachers from the perspective of the teacher, but then also, you know, when we're parents, we see it from the perspective of a parent as well. And it's very unsettling, I'm sure, and I hope, but I feel that probably everybody needs that little break over Easter to kind of reconfigure and work things out. I think that's probably what will be happening both with my children's school, but also I know with my school, you know, there's lessons to be learned from that first week of remote teaching, and how that has compared with perhaps other similar schools in our area of London, in the same kind of sector. And things will probably evolve quite a lot. In fact, I know that there is a lot of plans for evolving things, and the kind of interaction that perhaps will need to happen more so when we come back after Easter, as we go through this very, you know, well, it's obviously an unprecedented time, but also none of us know how long this is going on for. We can only really imagine at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's a big challenge. Yeah. And perhaps one that, you know, ultimately will be very positive. I mean, maybe some really, really good things will come out of this. Hello.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, it's interesting because obviously, Susan, your school where you work, they've been very proactive, haven't they, and really kind of encouraging.
Yes, certainly. So far, we have. To what Laura said, there is that level of detail at our school, but we're quite enriched with technology and things, and the capacity to deliver to children who are all holding their own device at home, and I think that makes a huge amount of difference. And they've been pretty meticulous about the breadth of the curriculum remaining the same, even though the children are at home. They're still having PE content and dance content and drama content and music content and all of those things as well. So yeah, I feel very fortunate to work somewhere which is going for that as fully as possible.
Well, and you've got, you know, why not? I don't understand the mentality. It must be very hard if you're really a committed teacher, and you've worked hard to really build, we're at that pivotal point of the year, aren't we? I remember when you really want your students to really fly the last term and really just nurture all that they've learned. And, and actually it's just been, the rug's been pulled out from under their feet. And so there must be quite a lot of frustration, I think, that, it's like, well, actually, what are we doing? And I admire your schools for just saying, well, we'll do something. We might fail at it. It might not work. And that's a good sign of leadership. It's actually you do something rather than an attempt to make it the quality standard it can be, but rather than just sitting back on your heels and just thinking, well, okay, we'll just see. I only found that out this morning, and I'm so cross with that school because they are a phenomenal school. I think that's actually really neglectful to do that, personally.
Yeah, I think for schools, though, obviously depending, I teach in a senior school, and there's been so much going on, obviously, with the frankly, I mean, devastation probably sounds a bit extreme, but it has been a really devastating situation in terms of the exams being cancelled and not knowing how that is then going to transpire, and still that information kind of trickling through has been hugely disconcerting for all students and all staff as well, because we all know as teachers are we care so very deeply about our students and want them to do well, and to feel that something that they were, I'm in a privileged position where I've got very bright, able boys, but they work in different ways, and some of them will inevitably do that sprint at the end, and suddenly kind of come out with things that they've never come out with before, because they've been kind of having a nice time, being slightly more relaxed than perhaps they should have been, and now a whole new system is obviously being created that we're still very much kind of learning about, that how that will then work and what the impact that will be on the individual. I'm sure in some cases it will be positive, but equally it's an exam is an exam, and obviously exams are hideous, but they provide something, I think, to work towards, and many people do respond quite differently when under pressure and given that opportunity. And obviously if you are taking data from the past, when that kind of pressure hasn't been there, and you have to obviously evidence everything, it will inevitably potentially have impacts that we don't really know at the moment. So there's been that element, obviously, for all teachers, and obviously we're all still, and parents all still very much dealing with that. And the other thing I was going to say as well, obviously, in terms of online teaching, and something that's come through from my children's school today, with regards to, obviously there's so much out there now, but the whole issue of safeguarding, and the fact that inevitably it opens up a potentially quite an interesting, brave new world that we all need to be very conscious of, both as parents and obviously, of course, as teachers as well. So that I think for some schools, understandably, that's a very big consideration when thinking about how to make things more interactive, in a way that is safe for everybody. No,
there's a lot to consider, and obviously people live in houses, lots of other people, and there's lots of implications, but there's always a best practice, that it just takes some thinking about us. Or
I think so, but it does seem as well that some schools have perhaps been able to have been more kind of prepped and planned, or have been able to plan better, certainly from my conversations with people, than perhaps other schools, finding perhaps it's come not totally left field, because I think there was very much the indication, I'm sure we all felt it, that something was going to happen, but of course it felt very unreal as well until that Wednesday when there was the it's just been an extraordinary time. My head's still reeling from it. I found that last week incredibly surreal and heartbreaking on many levels. I found that Friday just very, very devastating.
I think a lot of us were, have been in shock, and some are still in there, really. But it's definitely looking like we're going to be in this incredible situation for a while. I think it's very much a testament to the quality of leadership, because I've worked in 35 different schools. And
wow.
I was a supply teacher, just to clarify.
That's impressive.
I didn't have a week at one and they kicked me out. get rid of her.
35
She's
schools,
rubbish.
that's amazing.
You know, and
I've seen it all, Joe.
I have.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I've been around. Don't, it's my birthday coming up. Don't say things like that.
You're
but
very young and beautiful, don't worry.
The management styles are always fascinating for me, and the relationship between the head and the deputy head.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating, because it literally is, you know, it's got a very small, very shallow tier. Generally, most schools have. But actually, sadly, I think in some ways, this whole situation will just completely put the spotlight on how good can you lead? How good are you at leading and actually making decisions, and really trying to be proactive, determined, communicative. You know, so because, for example, coming back to my friend this morning, so she's had a number of emails from the school with lots of links saying you could do this with your child, you could do that with your child. Oh, right, okay, well, that's really nice, but that doesn't mean anything, you know, as a parent. And I'd be interested in what you'd say, or just from this angle, and we'll then come back to teachers, Laura. But actually, as a parent, trying to juggle your own business or your work from home now, you go on a kind of a structure and say, well, actually, just here you go, do this the best you can.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting that you're saying that, Joe, because you know, as I said earlier, I am aware of very different ways that schools are currently managing how they present things to parents. And as you say, I think actually what we all need is structure, and you know, that's the kind of little gift that you can get from, you know, something that you have a little. I mean, obviously we're all capable of creating timetables and, you know, dipping in and out here and there, but actually something that you can then kind of work from and perhaps alter, or, you know, inevitably, because this is not going to be a perfect time, things are going to shift around. And, you know, as we said earlier on, we can't beat ourselves up if it doesn't go brilliantly, and we don't manage everything. If we manage something and they've had some form of entertainment and creativity in a day, I think everyone should be pleased with themselves, and everyone is, you know, has gone to bed kind of calm. I think that's probably about as much as we can hope. But yeah, I mean, obviously schools that are providing structure, that is an amazing thing, and I think it's hugely beneficial for the children. I do agree where it's a bit more vague, it gives you kind of some suggestions and some links. That although yes, of course you can follow that through, it perhaps can make you feel a little bit like you're up the creek without a paddle. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
A bad analogy.
No, absolutely.
I'm sure everyone's doing their best, and you know, it's a learning curve.
It is a learning curve, and you know, with my business head on, it's quite fascinating for me to see how different organisations, because ultimately that's all a school is, are managing it, and the proactivity. And I think it's very much about the leadership from the top. But also, I think, you know, there's it's fairly straightforward, isn't it? You know, us the three of us know it's actually really very simple. I mean, I came up with a timetable for her this morning within 5 minutes for her kids. That's not rocket science. If you're just trying to provide parents with something that, you know, you can just actually give, really simplified, just bring it down to the bare nuts and bolts of actually 9 o'clock English, 10 o'clock maths, break, you know, like really just simplify, but give them something that is right, they can print it off or put it up on the wall and say, right, this is what you're doing. Your teacher, Mrs. Jones, says this is what you're doing. Because I think there's a real element of that, isn't it? That the power of the authority. Because that if there are lots of parents that are saying, well, right, you're going to do this now, like I've just tried with my girls, failed miserably. But, you know, they're doing quite a lot with their school, thankfully. But actually, as a parent, it is hard to get them to do stuff. But if you're saying, well, actually, your school have sent this timetable. Well,
yeah, it gives kind of leverage, doesn't it? And actually, it's not about you being an awful, mean mum / dad. It's actually, as you say, the teacher. And feeling that connection. I mean, it's great, Susan, that that your school is is obviously, as you say, so kind of tech savvy, because I think that connection is the thing that inevitably is so hard for kids to lose, because the teaching is interaction and face-to-face time with your students in a collective, and losing that is really hard, and I think kids really need that and they miss that. So it's, everybody does need to shift and change. I think it's really necessary to have, in some way, I mean, scary as it might be, I think it means so much actually for a student to have that actual contact, I think. And to lose that again is really sad and isolating.
Yeah. And so the teachers watching this, what would you suggest, recommend as I guess some teachers will find themselves being more proactive towards their head, or if they're trying to do something different. But what would you recommend that would be great strategies at the moment, just to keep that connection? Because I think that is really key. So many kids are going to be getting bored without seeing their friends, aren't they?
Susan, do you go first?
So Jo, were you specifically talking about the children connecting with their friends?
Well, the whole thing really, because obviously, it's very hard, isn't it? And obviously there's technology that allows us to create communities like apps and things. But I think it's important that there is that connectivity still. And I'm just sorry, putting on the spot completely. This situation requires thinking, doesn't it? So, yeah. Sorry, the sound's vibrating. It's gotten a bit funny. There we go.
Lovely echo.
Yeah, I think there was someone trying to call. So just interested to hear what you both individually would suggest to teachers that are feeling overwhelmed, that are struggling, that are, any sort of a strategy or some kind of advice that you could give them at the moment. Do you want to go, Susan? Sorry, you want to go first?
Oh.
Go, Susan.
I think that it's interesting listening to what you both have just been saying in terms of your own children who are at different stages. But I personally, as a teacher, essentially at home planning curriculum at the moment, think that the kind of key nugget that you both mentioned in terms of structure is actually incredibly important for the teachers themselves. And I am really going very back to basics with myself at the moment, just in terms of saying I will give myself half an hour to an hour maximum of a structured, like I'm doing some work now, and then equal balance, half an hour to an hour where anything can happen and where it's okay to have a really nice hot drink and do something relaxing and do something really unstructured and relax and just let myself zone out. I felt, and again, I'm not dealing with children at home, but I'm just dealing with learning how to do a job that is fully interactive at home by myself.
Yeah.
And so I think just that, like, just be very as gentle with yourself as you would with any child really about it, and make sure that you give yourself a very manageable bite-sized schedule, moment by moment. Right, I just was doing it earlier today actually. I sort of have felt overwhelmed by, I've got at least 5 year groups worth of curriculum to create completely remotely for the first half of next term, and that's completely overwhelming. But saying, right, for 30 minutes I'll just write things down and kind of scratch my head and be creative and throw any ideas down, and then have a drink and a break and a chat to somebody, is much more manageable than kind of going, oh my God, I've got to work out the whole of the curriculum for year 5 today, otherwise I'm behind my schedule, etc. So I don't know if that's helpful, but just be gentle with yourself and make it bite-sized.
Well, I totally agree with you, Susan, and I think you've already mentioned it actually, but I think what's so important for all of us as teachers at the moment is to communicate with our colleagues, and within a department, utilize the skills that are in the department and not feel that it's just on you. Obviously, depending on where your position is in the department, yes, of course, head of department has the kind of, you know, is at the top of the pyramid. However, you know, we all need to kind of work together and pool our resources so that we're not kind of repeating ourselves, and actually we can support one another. I mean, you know, I think we're very blessed, Susan. I know that we have great colleagues, but that means the world, really. And actually being able to talk to them, talk about anxieties when they come. Like I had a wobble earlier on today, and I spoke to my lovely head of department and colleague, and we talked about it, and I was fine. I came through it. But as I say, you know, relating to stuff that's going on with all the uncertainty about exams, and I just felt very overwhelmed for a moment. And actually just having that chat with my colleague and my friend, and also talking about how, you know, everything will change, as we've already mentioned, in terms of after Easter, and how things will become more online and more interactive, but how we can do that so no one's kind of feeling that it's all on them and they have to kind of reinvent the wheel themselves 3 times when somebody else is doing a very similar thing but slightly differently. You know, we can delegate and find ways through it together. So I think that relationship with your colleagues is so important at this point in time, and something that you know, we need to kind of knuckle down together and as teachers do, support one another through it and not feel that you're on your own, because it's new for everybody, you know, whether it's, you know, the head teacher and senior management down to, you know, the classroom teacher. Everybody is having to evolve very quickly and learn, and we need to express and you know, work together to make hopefully good decisions about how we can not feel overloaded when it is so new.
Yeah, definitely. And all the schools I worked in, the teachers have been very close, and there's been a community, but that's not always the case, is it, sadly? So if you're feeling like that, you're feeling isolated, you're feeling like, you know, maybe one of the teachers at the school I'm talking about is feeling really frustrated that actually we're better than this, we should be doing more. It's important for them to reach out. And I'd also suggest kind of like writing it down, your thoughts and ideas of how you can progress it, and pinging it off to the heads of departments and saying, well, actually, I appreciate this is difficult, but how about doing this? And if everyone pulls their ideas right now, because
I think that's
like we first identified, was that so many schools, all schools will have a different level of tech capabilities and capacities and structure. You know, and you see this all the time, don't you? When I speak to other parents, there'll be one school that's doing that already, and the other school's like totally way behind with that. So that's unfortunately, that's another. This will be highlighted right now, is that there'll be lots of people thinking, well, why aren't my school? Why isn't my school doing what they're doing? You know, which is a challenge. But the important thing, like we said, is to feel like there's someone out there. Reach out to another teacher, and just have someone who you can chat about and chat to, and share your concerns, worries, as well.
No, absolutely.
And sorry, go on.
Oh no, I've got a thought, but it's suddenly gone from my head, Jo. So say what you were going to say, and I'll try to remember it. But it was something connected, but my brain's just gone. Yeah,
no. So we've got a caller who's joined us. So we've got someone who's just come on. I'm just going to check they haven't come up with any questions, because I've asked for people to. Hi, Mark. Nice to have you on the show. She says, like I'm in a TV studio. Oh, so funny. In my head. But yeah, no, so hopefully if any questions come up, then please pop up. But yeah, so there are phenomenal challenges, and it's going to be tricky. For me, my heart goes out to teachers that actually have kids themselves, because you know, we know what
I remember my thought now, Jo, when you're ready.
It is phenomenally challenging, and if you're having to spend your day, like I know some schools have gone completely straight online. I mean, why don't we all just go verbal rather than visual? We don't have to go visual. We can go verbal. We can go online on Zoom, but just verbal, can't we? Safe as anything. You know, just engage with the voice. It's actually, I think, nicer because we don't end up looking at the screen all day, which you know, is not good for our eyes or our health or our mindset. But you know, I think there's that must be a real challenge right now, to be trying to juggle your schooling hour the kids around, little ones. We've both had twins, Laura. We know what it's like. Bonkers.
Yeah, nuts. Well, I mean, this is a thing as well, and just to link back to what you were saying before, Jo, you know, I think as we're all kind of making comparisons at the moment, both, you know, in terms of with our teacher hats on, with what other schools are doing or what other colleagues are doing, and equally with our parental hats on in terms of, you know, am I doing a good job? Oh, I'm a terrible failure because I haven't started teaching my child Spanish. But you know, the reality is, you know, perhaps we need to lower certainly on a parental level, maybe we need to lower our expectations a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, remember that, well, depending on the age group, you know, kids are very resilient all the way through. And certainly, you know, my age group, they're very little. And, you know, if they get a bit behind here or there because of what's happened, but they're happy and healthy, you know, they will catch up. And equally the older kids, you know, well, we want them to do well, but obviously these are exceptional circumstances. And again, you know, when things evolve and things get more settled, we'll get into a bit more of a rhythm. And again, when things get back to some sense of normality, people will be able to catch up if things inevitably have shifted a little bit.
Yeah.
So I suppose it links back to just trying to keep in a positive headspace, although not beating yourself up if you do have days where you don't feel particularly great, either as a teacher or a parent.
Yeah,
or a combination of the two, because you know, we can't be positive the whole time. It's nuts out there, and it's hard work. And you go, you know, I went to Tesco's yesterday and I came back feeling just terrible. It was like I'd walked into some dystopian nightmare. It was not that anyone was being horrible. It just freaked me out. I felt very uncomfortable about it, and I just wanted to cry.
Yeah. But so just to bring back to, because obviously I think that there's always the adverse, isn't there? And actually there might be a lot of teachers that are thinking, well, you know, what can I do to embrace this time? And Susan, you're offering tuition, aren't you?
Yes, if anybody would like it. I would delightedly offer tuition. I hope, Jo, that you had a chance to look at what Laura is already doing, and I'm going to offer a plug for that as well now.
Oh, thanks, Susan.
She's the expert.
Yes, so plug away.
Go, Laura. Tell us about YouTube channel.
Well, I mean, this is very much this. You know, I thought my kids have always, you know, enjoyed doing a bit of drama with me, or wanted to do drama with me. So we thought it might be quite nice to film some lessons where they really like me. They're at the age where they like kind of playing teachers. So therefore they wanted me very much to be in role as a teacher. So I am very much being, you know, me kind of on form as the drama teacher. But yeah, so we've made two little films. It's called, what is it? Drama at Home with Laura. Yeah. I've got a little YouTube channel. So we did a little lesson on improv, and we've done a little lesson on physicalization. And there's exercises that, you know, hopefully people could do at home. It's really the idea is that it's for the parents of kids, you know, in my children's school, but equally if other people are interested, it's for primary school children, obviously my age children, but hopefully fun and quite entertaining, because obviously, you know, the kids they're into it, but also they just come out with some hilarious comments that I think make it quite entertaining. Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, no, I looked at it, it's just brilliant. And that's a great idea that all teachers could do really right now, is just create some fun content. Why not?
I think
this is doable.
I do think actually, Jo, this is something that is really potentially quite exciting for all of us if we just go for it. You know, exactly that. Like we're blessed with technology in our own homes just by having an iPhone or you know, a phone that has a camera. And actually, you don't need to be at all tech savvy to record yourself or come up with something creative that you can then kind of, you know, give out to the world, and anyone who's interested can have a look. And actually it's quite good for your own brain as well. I found that doing the drama at home little episodes has been really nice for me, because I've actually felt kind of calm in myself, because I've been actually, you know, being my professional self, obviously at home with my kids. And that's really good for your headspace as well. But I think there's so much opportunity, I think, for people to be creative with how perhaps they, as a teacher, might want to think about, you know, how they're sharing their skills out there. And as you say, it can be the voice, that the opportunity for podcasts is huge. You know, any area of your expertise, there's going to be someone who is going to be really keen to hear, or equally another professional who would be really happy to kind of see what you're doing, and it might give them some ideas about, you know, how they are then going to generate stuff for their own students. So I think, you know, there's a real opportunity for people to go for it.
Yeah, I know there absolutely is. And I think there's you just need to think outside the box a little bit, and just be a little bit creative, and be using the home environment. What have you got? You know, you can run a maths lesson from your kitchen, right? It's easy. You know, you can just get stuff out the cupboards, you get the pasta. You can do stuff like that, and actually you might end up creating the best content that's ever been offered by teachers to their pupils, because who doesn't want to learn kind of kinesthetically and creatively? Most of us do.
Absolutely.
So, no, I think absolutely you've done exactly the right thing, is create Susan's next. She's got to create her offerings, because Susan's come up with some amazing suggestions for drama lessons as well.
Of course.
It's in my other episode.
Yes,
you can bring it alive with video, and once you get over the video, and I'm really happy to help any teachers that would like to do it but are a bit worried about getting it right on video. But once you've gotten over that, you can actually just really have fun with it. And wouldn't that be amazing if we end up with this little cohort of like online YouTube teachers that are just so amazing and inspirational? And, you know, going back to Joe Wicks and his 9 a.m. PE lesson, I mean, how inspiring is that man? He was scared when he did his first one. He said, I was petrified Monday morning of doing it live, because he never does it live normally. Different.
He's brilliant, I have to say. I mean, I always thought he was sweet, but well, he's clearly a national treasure and is going to be knighted.
He is big. I mean, he deserves it, because he's one of the heroes of our time right now. And
he's utterly lovely and generous and sweet and down to earth, and doing such a positive thing for, you know, my kids. I don't know about yours, Joe, but my kids are doing it religiously every morning, and they kind of feel like they know him, but he's very familiar in a kind of, he's such a kind of down to earth, lovely bloke.
No, he nails it. He nails it. And what he does really well is he is himself. And that's what I say with anyone doing any video content across the board. Just be yourself on the video. Don't try and be like you saw a video and thought, oh, they did it really well. No, just be you. Just talk like you're talking to a best friend, is how I tell people. So talk like you're talking to a best friend that has a really good sense of humor. So just be funny, be engaging, just chat away. Don't try and be this kind of like video like star. But actually, you all of you teachers will have some amazing content that you could just put up right now, just to inspire and just think outside the box. So I'm going to wrap it up, because we have been chatting, gone over a little bit of time. Never mind, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to just come up with the few tips that I've got got from our conversations. And I think firstly and most importantly is give yourself a break and just say, actually, I'm doing what I can, because some teachers will have heads that are coming down on them really heavy and saying, right, you know, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. It's across the board, isn't it? Everyone's different. But just know that you're doing what you can and how you can. And especially if you've got your own kids running around, goodness me, just give yourself a break and just say, do you know what? I'm just doing what I can, and that is enough. Give yourself boundaries, because if you're normally at school at from 9 till 3, really you should still be just working. Well, I know teachers never do that. But, you know, you should really just still keep those boundaries to some degree, because otherwise your family life will start to suffer.
Give yourself a working day, definitely.
Yeah, and you know, just allow that to sort of exist, and just be really clear that, you know, you're going to do that. And also community. So if you are struggling and you haven't got a close network, then reach out to someone that can support you, and that you can share things with. But also, I think you should be reaching out to the schools saying, well, this is what I believe, this is what I think. Be proactive in your own creativity of, because this will come to an end at some point. And if you're the one that's actually saying, well, actually, let's do this, let's do that, I think that would be quite an impactful way of trying to make a difference. But Susan, any last tips for the teachers that watch this? Find another job.
No, like just as I brought in when I was giving those practical drama tips when we spoke last week, I think the inventiveness that both you and Laura have spoken about is key. I am making more headway with the inventive, out of left field, nutty things that I'm attempting at the moment than I am with anything where I'm like, there's a certain goal and this thing must get taught. So I think, yeah, just allow your right brain to really engage with how you can best make this interesting for yourself, as much as, rather than there's a kind of imposition from on high.
Definitely. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. And Laura, a final tip for people?
I think, kind of following on from what Susan said, really, that, creativity is key here. And for all of our sanities, kids and teachers alike, we can generate huge quantities of marking, but actually the more, as Susan has very aptly said, kind of left field we can think and creatively we can think, it actually is going to be more enjoyable for the kids, and also in terms of for the teachers more manageable, because what we really can't handle probably for an extended period of time is insane amounts of marking. So where it's purely kind of written, we need to think much more creatively.
Worksheet central. Oh God, I hate that.
Think much more creatively, and I think we need to really think about how we can utilize in a safe way technology, so that actually we can communicate ideas, but things don't necessarily have to be written down. I think that would be really, really helpful for
absolutely. Yeah, and so the favorite teaching I ever did were in the schools that were still project led. So my final suggestion would be and especially if your kids haven't got any work to do right now, give them a project and allow them to run with it. So
I think that's a great idea.
Starting with the question of, say, how I saved the world, something like that. So you're just creating a kind of a trigger, or something like what my house is a spaceship, just something that's a bit bonkers and a bit out there, but actually allows them to say, right, okay, what would be your news report about how you saved the world, and just start with that little basic steps and give them a project to build on. And I think, actually, not be funny, but I think that'd be a very straightforward way for teachers and heads to lead the next few weeks, to give the kids something to do that might end up being with the best work that they've ever done. Just give them inspiration. But that's just my thoughts. Anyway, thank you so much, Laura. Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you, Jo.
Really
thank you,
fun.
Susan.
And I hope you've enjoyed that, viewers. Please comment below, because YouTube likes it when you comment, and then the videos get traction. I'm sure you know that, Laura, already, but so please comment below and subscribe. I'm doing this every single day for however many days. I love it. I love speaking to you.
Well, it's brilliant. And thank you, Jo.
No, pleasure, honestly, and I hope it's helped you if you're a teacher at home, especially if you've got kids yourself. Ooh, take care.